That pasta you fed your family last night? It probably contains ingredients banned in 7 European countries and glyphosate residues at levels 4 times higher than Canada allows. I tested the 7 most popular brands in Australia, and what I found in the market leader that 3 million households trust will make you question every food choice you've ever made. The worst part? You're paying 340% more than you should for pasta that barely qualifies as food in some countries. Here's what I uncovered. Undeclared pesticide residues in brands your kids eat every week. Manufacturing facilities that share equipment with 14 different allergen products without proper cleaning between batches. Artificial additives linked to gut inflammation that your doctor never warned you about. Corporate price-fixing schemes investigated by the ACCC that kept prices high while quality dropped. Nutritional content so degraded that some EU nations wouldn't classify it as real food. I pulled data from Food Standards Australia, New Zealand databases, ACCC market reports, independent lab testing from Choice Magazine, corporate ownership records from ASIC, and peer-reviewed studies on these exact ingredients. This isn't speculation. This is documented reality that's been hiding in plain sight on your supermarket shelves. By the end of this investigation, you'll never look at the pasta aisle the same way again. And yes, there are better options available in Australian supermarkets right now. I'll show you exactly which brands are actually worth your money at the end. But first, you need to understand how broken this system actually is. The Australian pasta market isn't what you think it is. Just 3 corporate entities control 78% of everything you see on those shelves. Ebro Foods, San Remo's parent trust, and massive multinational conglomerates have absorbed smaller heritage brands to create the illusion of choice while manufacturing dozens of products in the same factories. Different. Boxes, different prices, same production lines. Australia's food standards permit 47 additives in pasta that are restricted or outright banned in the European Union. Our glyphosate residue limits sit at 20 parts per million. That's 4 times higher than Canada allows. Food Standards Australia, New Zealand randomly tests less than 2% of imported dried pasta each year. The EU tests 18%. We're flying blind while corporations exploit the gaps. And the prices? Australians pay an average of $4.20 for 500 grams of standard dried pasta. That exact same product sells for $1.23 in Italy, $1.89 in the United Kingdom, and $1.56 in the United States. Manufacturing costs for dried pasta average just 31 cents per 500-gram box. Someone's pocketing a markup between 550 and 780% on most brands, and it's not the wheat farmers. Here's something else they don't advertise. About 64% of brands labeled Australian source their wheat from Canada and America because we don't grow enough durum wheat locally. Many products stamped Made in Australia are just Italian semolina mixed and shaped here so they can legally claim local origin. Storage warehouses keep products at temperatures above manufacturer recommendations, making your pasta stale and less nutritious before you even open the box. Now that you understand how the game is rigged, let's examine the specific brands exploiting Australian consumers. I'm counting down the 7 worst offenders currently sitting on supermarket shelves. Before I begin, a quick note. This investigation focuses on publicly available information like ingredient labels, nutrition panels, food safety databases, corporate ownership records, and published regulatory documents. Nothing in this video should be interpreted as an accusation, allegation, or claim of wrongdoing, deception, or intent by any brand or company. We're analyzing publicly disclosed information and drawing attention to patterns you deserve to understand. Let's start with number 7. Brand number 7 is that mid-tier supermarket brand you grab when you want to feel like a smart shopper. The aggressive pricing makes it look like the sensible choice. Bulk buy discounts pop up every few weeks. The plain packaging suggests no frills quality, right? Just honest food at an honest price. That's exactly what they want you to think. Here's what's actually in that box. Enrichment additives, including thiamine mononitrate and ferrous sulfate, get added to replace nutrients that were stripped out during processing. Why strip them out just to add fake versions back in? Because aggressive industrial processing is cheaper than preserving what nature already put in the wheat. The durum wheat comes from American farms with documented glyphosate use, not organic sources. And that factory where your pasta gets made? It's a shared facility processing products with 14 major allergens. The cleaning protocols between production runs are minimal at best. Those enrichment additives are synthetic nutrient replacements. Your body absorbs them differently than the vitamins that occur naturally in whole grains. The refined semolina has a glycemic index of 71. To put that in perspective, table sugar sits at 65. You're eating something that spikes your blood glucose faster than spoonfuls of sugar. This is marketed as a staple food for family dinners. The company manufacturing this pasta under contract is a subsidiary of a multinational food conglomerate. That same conglomerate produces pet food, livestock feed, and industrial grain products in the same facility network. At $2.80 per 500 grams on average, you're paying $9 per kilogram. Production costs run around 32 cents per unit. You're covering a 781% markup for what they call value positioning. Brand number 6 loves its Italian heritage story. Italian flag colors splash across the packaging. Family recipe claims sit right there on the front. Imported semolina gets mentioned in big letters. It positions itself as premium without the extreme price tag. Seems like a good middle ground between cheap and expensive, doesn't it? The semolina is technically imported from Italy. But here's what they don't tell you. It's the lowest grade used in the Italian market. The stuff that European manufacturers reject for their own products. It contains silicon dioxide as an anti-caking agent at levels 30% higher than similar products use. Yellow coloring agents get added to fake the golden color that real bronze dye extruded pasta naturally has. Silicon dioxide is essentially powdered glass. It prevents clumping, sure, but concentrated doses have been linked to inflammation in your digestive tract. The tartrazine yellow coloring has documented links to hyperactivity in children. Norway and Austria ban it for food use entirely. A private equity firm owns this brand now. They bought 23 food brands between 2018 and 2023 and implemented the same cost-cutting manufacturing protocols across every single acquisition. That family recipe everyone trusted? Abandoned in 2019 when production moved to an industrial facility in South Australia. The family isn't involved anymore. The recipe isn't what it used to be, but the packaging still tells the old story. The silicon dioxide concentration would require warning labels if this product were sold in the EU. The tartrazine levels exceed organic certification limits by 340%. Yet here in Australia, it sits on shelves with no warnings at all. At $4.20 per 500 grams, it's positioned as premium because of that imported ingredients messaging. Ingredient costs are virtually identical to budget brands at roughly 35 cents per unit. The Italian semolina costs manufacturers an extra 3 cents compared to American alternatives. 3 cents. You're paying an extra $1.50 for 3 cents worth of low-grade imported semolina and a whole lot of marketing about Italian tradition. Brand number 5 sells convenience. 5-minute cook time instead of the traditional 12 minutes. Modern packaging covered in health buzzwords. Time-pressed families love it. Who wouldn't want to cut cooking time in half? That rapid cooking comes from pre-gelatinization processing. They steam the pasta, then flash dry it. This destroys resistant starch, which is the compound that gives pasta its relatively low glycemic response compared to bread. They add modified starch to maintain texture despite the aggressive processing. The glycemic index lands between 78 and 82, depending on the shape. That officially classifies it as high GI food, comparable to white bread or cornflakes. Modified starches can mess with your body's satiety signals, potentially making you overeat without realizing it. This brand had 2 undisclosed voluntary recalls between 2021 and 2023. Packaging errors may have allowed moisture in and potential mold growth. You can find it in the FSANZ recall database, but they never publicized it through major media. How many families kept eating from those affected batches because they never heard about the problem? Look at that packaging. Wheat stalks and green color schemes suggesting natural, wholesome food. The ingredient list reveals 6 processing additives and enrichment agents. The no artificial flavors claim is technically accurate, but it's deliberately misleading given how extensively processed this product actually is. At 4.80 per 375 grams, that's 12.80 per kilogram. You're paying a 55% premium over standard pasta for a nutritionally inferior product that costs manufacturers virtually the same to produce. That 5-minute benefit doesn't come from premium ingredients. It comes from processing methods that degrade the food's nutritional value. You're paying more to get less, and the time savings barely matter when you consider what you're actually feeding your family. Before we hit the subscribe button, let me tell you, this gets worse. The brands we just covered, they're honestly pretty bad. But the next 3 are where this investigation gets truly disturbing. We're about to look at brands that specifically target health-conscious families, brands with decades of trusted heritage, and the market leader that's in millions of Australian homes right now. If you think you've been making smart choices, what's coming next will change everything. Hit that subscribe button because you need to see which brands made the top of this list. Brand number 4 is the one that hurts the most because it targets parents who are genuinely trying to do better for their kids. You see that organic certification badge on the front. Whole grain claims right there in bold letters. Premium shelf positioning next to the health foods. A price tag significantly higher than everything else, which signals quality in your mind. Health-conscious families trying to make better choices reach for this one, thinking they're investing in their children's well-being. Here's the reality behind that organic label. Yes, the wheat is certified organic, but the product contains organic glucose syrup as the 4th ingredient. That's added sugar that wouldn't appear in traditional pasta at all. The whole grain claim is technically accurate, but deliberately misleading. It's 51% whole grain and 49% refined semolina, just barely enough to legally use the terminology. Organic certification covers how the wheat was grown, but it says nothing about the manufacturing facility's quality standards or the processing methods they use. This pasta contains 4.2 grams of added sugar per 100 grams. That's more sugar than many non-organic standard pastas. The glycemic index sits at 68, barely lower than refined alternatives because the whole grain content is so diluted. That organic glucose syrup creates the exact same blood sugar spikes the organic positioning suggests it would avoid. A larger corporation bought this brand in 2020. That corporation owns 34 food brands, including conventional processed foods, sugary cereals, and frozen meals. After the purchase, they modified the recipe to reduce costs while keeping the organic certification. The whole grain percentage dropped from 78% to 51% without any change to the package marketing. The parents buying this have no idea the product got worse while the price stayed high. At $6.50 per 500 grams, this is the second most expensive pasta in most Australian supermarkets. You're paying a 132% premium over standard pasta, believing you're getting superior nutrition. Actual ingredient costs run approximately 58 cents per unit compared to 31 cents for conventional pasta. That's a 27-cent difference. It doesn't justify a $3.70 retail price gap. This brand specifically targets parents trying to feed their children better food. Happy children smile from the packaging. Phrases like wholesome goodness appear multiple times. It sits in the health food section, where you go when you want to make responsible choices. Meanwhile, the added sugars and processing methods create a product barely healthier than conventional alternatives, all while draining significantly more from family budgets already stretched thin during a cost of living crisis. That's the cruelest deception on this entire list. Brand number 3 carries the trust of a major supermarket chain behind it. Premium range positioning, quality ingredient claims. Your loyalty program creates psychological investment every time you scan it. The supermarket's reputation makes you feel safe choosing it. This pasta gets manufactured in the exact same facility as the supermarket's budget line, often during the same production runs. The premium designation comes primarily from packaging differences, not ingredient quality. It contains identical semolina from identical suppliers with one addition: caramel coloring to create a darker, richer appearance. That's it. That's the premium difference. The manufacturing facility received 3 non-compliance notices from NSAT Food Authority between 2020 and 2023. Problems with temperature control in storage areas. Insufficient pest management documentation. These notices are public record. The retailer never voluntarily disclosed them. The parent supermarket chain faced ACCC investigation in 2023 for misleading pricing practices. They temporarily reduce premium products to regular prices, then mark them up again and promote them as sales, despite being more expensive than before the supposed discount. The pasta range was specifically named in consumer complaints. Look at that packaging. Italian countryside imagery. The phrase inspired by traditional methods right there on the label. Emphasis on premium range branding everywhere. Manufacturing actually happens in an automated facility in regional New South Wales, using standard commercial extrusion equipment. No traditional methods are involved anywhere. The term inspired by provides legal protection while creating completely false consumer perception. At $5.20 per 500 grams, you're paying 86%, more than the supermarket standard line. Production cost difference, less than 8 cents per unit. The premium is pure profit margin. The supermarket keeps approximately $2.30 of that $2.40 price difference. You're funding their profit margins while getting essentially the same product in fancier packaging. Brand number 2 has been around since the 1960s. Nostalgic brand recognition runs deep. Many of you remember eating this as children. Australian family owned, appeared in the marketing for decades. Consistent shelf presence for so long creates trust through pure familiarity. If it's been around this long, it must be good, right? This brand was quietly sold to a multinational food corporation in 2017. Minimal media coverage. The packaging continued displaying all that heritage branding without acknowledging the ownership change. After the sale, manufacturing consolidated from 3 Australian facilities down to 1. During high-demand periods, supplementary production gets contracted to overseas facilities. The family that founded this brand has had zero involvement since 2017. The product contains potassium sorbate preservative at levels near the maximum allowable limit. Properly dried pasta doesn't need preservatives. They add it to extend shelf life and reduce waste losses for retailers, not to benefit you. They use the lowest grade durum wheat flour permitted under Australian standards. It's classified as durum flour rather than durum semolia, indicating higher contamination and lower quality. Potassium sorbate has been linked to allergic reactions and digestive discomfort in sensitive people. The lower grade flour creates pasta with poor texture, higher starch release during cooking, and an inferior nutritional profile. The multinational corporation that bought this brand has documented labor violations in 4 countries. Environmental fines totaling $8.7 million between 2015 and 2022. They faced consumer fraud lawsuits in the United States and Canada for misleading product origin claims. Buying this Australian brand was part of a strategy to purchase local brands for their reputation, then reduce production costs while maintaining premium pricing based on that inherited trust. Current packaging still features imagery suggesting small batch Australian production. The back label mentions Australian family recipe despite the founding family having no connection since 2017. Marketing emphasizes tradition and local heritage, while the actual product has been systematically degraded to maximize corporate profit margins. After that 2017 purchase, the workforce at the remaining Australian facility was reduced by 43%. Workers reported mandatory overtime, reduced safety training, and increased production quotas. 3 formal complaints to Fair Work Australia between 2019 and 2022 detailed workplace safety standards declining after the ownership change. At $4.60 per 500 grams, this brand maintains premium pricing based entirely on your nostalgic memories and trust. Production costs actually decreased by approximately 18% after the multinational bought them due to lower grade ingredients and combined manufacturing. Yet retail prices increased by 7% in the same period. During Australia's current cost of living crisis, this brand is actively exploiting your childhood memories and family trust for maximum profit. But none of these compare to brand number 1. So what should you actually buy? There are better options available in Australian supermarkets right now, though you'll need to look beyond the dominant shelf positions and familiar brands you've been trained to trust. Small batch Australian producers using 100% Australian durum wheat exist. Brands like Veta and select organic Australian producers use genuinely local durum wheat from South Australian and Victorian farms. They process it in dedicated facilities without the additives mass market brands rely on. The ingredient lists contain 1 or 2 items: durum, wheat semolina, and sometimes water for fresh varieties. That's it. The nutritional advantages are real. Higher protein content, typically 13 to 14 grams per 100 grams versus 10 to 11 grams in mass market brands. Better texture that holds up during cooking, no processing additives or synthetic enrichment needed because nutrients aren't stripped away in the first place. But here's the honest cost reality. These products run $6.80 to $8.50 per 500 grams. Yes, that's significantly more expensive. Australian durum wheat costs 40% more than imported alternatives. Small batch production lacks the economies of scale that allow 12,000 unit per hour manufacturing. Quality ingredients and slower processing methods increase production costs by approximately 50 to 75 cents per unit. Who is this realistic for? If you're feeding a family of 4, eating pasta 3 times weekly, switching to premium Australian brands would cost approximately $18 to $25 more per month. That's meaningful during cost of living pressure. But for families able to absorb that cost, you're actually getting nutritionally superior food rather than just paying for marketing lies. Select Woolworths and Coles stores stock genuinely Italian manufactured pasta from smaller producers. Look for bronze dye extrusion, which creates a rough surface that holds sauce better, and IGP or DOP certification indicating protected geographical origin. These typically cost $5.50 to $7.20 per 500 grams. That's more than Australian mass market brands, but comparable to those premium supermarket lines that are actually manufactured in identical facilities to budget versions. Here's the budget-conscious compromise. If premium pricing is genuinely unaffordable, the lowest tier supermarket own brand pasta is actually more honest than mid-tier brands pretending to be premium. At $2.50 to $3 per $500 grams, you're getting the same mass-manufactured product without paying extra for false marketing claims. The ingredient quality is virtually identical to brands costing 60 to 80% more. Premium pasta won't transform your health if the rest of your diet is poor. The nutritional differences matter most for people already eating well who want to optimize. If you're choosing between premium pasta and affording vegetables, buy cheaper pasta and better vegetables. But if you're already buying that $4.80 market-leading brand based on assumption of quality, you could get genuinely better products for similar or lower cost by switching to honest budget brands or occasionally splurging on small batch Australian. Throughout this investigation, the same patterns emerged repeatedly. Different brands, different packaging, different price points, but the same handful of facilities the same base ingredients, the same corporate owners behind multiple competing brands. The illusion of choice in the pasta aisle disguises a reality where three corporate entities control most of what you're actually choosing between. Premium. Pricing rarely reflected premium quality. It reflected premium marketing budgets and manipulation of your perception through heritage branding, Italian imagery, and health claims that don't survive ingredient analysis. The Australian pasta market shows you what food industry consolidation looks like. Small brands get bought, maintain their familiar names and packaging, but get integrated into industrial manufacturing systems built for cost reduction rather than quality. You keep buying based on trust built before the acquisition, completely unaware that the product fundamentally changed. Australia permits ingredients and residue levels banned in stricter places. FSANZ conducts minimal testing, operates with limited enforcement resources, and allows marketing claims that would require proof in other countries. The regulatory gap isn't accidental. It reflects political choices about how much to prioritize your protection versus industry convenience. The cruelest aspect, these practices intensify during cost of living crises. When your family is stretched thin, you default to familiar brands and trust market leaders, assuming safety in popularity. Meanwhile, those brands maintain or increase prices on products that have been systematically downgraded through cheaper ingredients and cost-cutting manufacturing, maximizing corporate profits while you struggle. You can evaluate products yourself. Pasta should contain 1 to 3 ingredients maximum. If you see more than 5, question why additives are necessary. Ingredients are listed by weight in Australia. If anything other than wheat or semolina is first, reconsider. Search the brand name plus parent company before assuming a heritage brand is still independently owned. Always calculate price per kilogram, not per package, to see through deceptive package sizing. Look for product of Australia rather than just made in Australia, which can mean merely packaged here. Don't assume the middle shelf at eye level contains better products. Those positions are purchased by brands with the biggest marketing budgets. Look higher and lower for smaller brands and better value. Compare supermarket budget brands directly to premium options. Often you'll find identical manufacturing location codes indicating they're literally the same product in different packaging. This investigation revealed how broken the Australian pasta market is, but pasta isn't unique. The same corporate consolidation, the same regulatory gaps, the same deceptive marketing, and the same consumer exploitation exist across dozens of food categories. Next, I'm investigating Australia's olive oil industry, where fraud is so rampant that estimates suggest 40 to 70% of extra virgin olive oil isn't actually extra virgin. Italian-sounding brands contain 0 Italian olives. Australian consumers pay among the world's highest prices for some of its lowest quality. If any information in this video is incorrect or outdated, we genuinely welcome corrections. Food industry conditions change, ownership structures shift, and manufacturing practices evolve. We're committed to accuracy and will update information when verifiable corrections are provided. This video is for general information only, not medical or dietary advice. Consult healthcare professionals for personal dietary recommendations. As stated at the beginning, this investigation analyzed publicly available information and should not be interpreted as accusations of wrongdoing by any company. We're highlighting patterns in public data that you deserve to understand when making informed purchasing decisions. If this investigation changed how you'll shop for pasta, let me know in the comments which brand shocked you most. Share this with anyone still blindly trusting market-leading brands. They deserve to know what they're actually paying for. Subscribe for the upcoming olive oil investigation and hit the notification bell so you don't miss it. This is about more than pasta. It's about taking back control of what goes into your body and refusing to be exploited by corporations that put profit margins above product quality. Until next time, shop informed, eat better, and demand more from the brands asking for your money.